Excuse me, sorry. So I don't know how many of you know this, but Janet and I actually decided to commit to LBCOC before we even visited. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to everybody, but given our circumstances and some of the factors that were in play at the time, it seemed right at the moment. For example, we were moving to a new area. We knew some of the people in this church, and we knew we were going to be busy with Janet working nights, and me starting my first year of law school. We wanted to get plugged into a community as fast as possible. And second, by virtue of being a Lighthouse Bible Church, we knew, generally speaking, what to expect from the MVP, like Peter mentioned earlier, as well as the Peacemaker Pledge and the Orthodox Christian doctrine that would be taught. And the third was really the recommendation of a couple people that we really respected and loved. One of them being Pastor John Kim from LBCLA, and the other being Pastor Patrick Cho from Lighthouse San Diego. Both are the senior pastors of those respective churches. And I knew, and those two couldn't recommend, especially Pastor James, highly enough. And I knew that wasn't a light statement for them to say, especially what had happened with the Eastern Church not too long before that. And if you guys don't know, Patrick is one of the biggest cheerleaders of this church, especially of Pastor James. It's funny, I don't know if Peter maybe remember this, and whoever else was saying it at the time, but Patrick, I believe it was during one of the on Sunday sermon, if not a members meeting, and I don't even remember what the point of that, what his tangent was, but he basically said, if you have the choice between staying in San Diego and going to Orange County, he said go to Orange County. And I'm like, you're the senior pastor of San Diego, what are you saying? But that was the amount of trust and faith that he had in James, and how much he loved just being his friend. And so, yeah, that was a pretty bold statement for him to make from the pulpit, from what I could tell. And before we fully committed, I had the opportunity to visit one time during the new student orientation for my law school. I was up here for the weekend, and I thought perfect opportunity. That was my first time, my ability to visit SOC, because I couldn't make it to the inaugural and etc. I was like, yes, I'm going to finally be able to visit, confirm some of the things that I've been hearing, finally see Pastor James speak from his own pulpit, because I had heard him speak in San Diego and whatnot. It's like, yes, and I walk in, and I see Patrick there. What are you doing here? I thought I'm in Orange County. And it turns out that James and Patrick were doing a pulpit swap that week. I was like, and he ended up speaking the sermon that he had preached the week before. I was like, okay, all right, well, but at the same time, I got to see the church serving, and that day was actually the day that we went to the park to have a hot dog. I just handed a hot dog to whoever was willing, and share the gospel and whatnot. So I didn't get the full view of what a real Sunday service, or true Sunday service would be with Pastor James there, but at the same time I got to see the love of the body, being able to not just serve within the church, but serve the community as well. And so we jumped in the first Sunday that we were up in Orange County. We weren't even at our home at the time, we were actually in an Airbnb, but we decided we wanted to start going to Lighthouse, Orange County, and worst case scenario, if something like some flags and sirens go off, then we can just go somewhere else if we wanted to. But obviously that didn't happen, and there were times when I wondered what would have happened if we had actually spent time church hopping instead of coming to LBCOC so early. I would ask, was I naive? Was I not being a good leader? Will we have ended up at a different church? Will we have had a different senior pastor and a different small group, different church community? When we left San Diego, we were given an opportunity to say farewell to the church, and through a letter that we had written, and wanted to share a little bit about what I wrote. This is kind of in the middle of the letter I wrote. In some sense, I still feel like I am a part of the San Diego family. You are a significant part of the home for the last 8 or so years, and it's not easy to leave it all behind in one fell swoop. We miss the church, and we pray that you continue to be a shining light, beacon of light in San Diego. At the same time, Lighthouse OC has welcomed us with warm embrace. The church is full of love for one another and passionate for the gospel and kingdom work. It is encouraging to see 100% of the members do 100% of the work, and their loving sacrifice propels me and Janet to become more involved as well. We recently attended LBCOC's 3rd year anniversary banquet, and it was such a joyous occasion and testimony of what God is doing with our church. Because we are small and meet less frequently, each meeting is more intentional and more precious. Plus, it helps that the level of accountability is raised 1,000-fold because the rest of the church knows when you're not there. I sent that letter to Patrick in October of 2017, almost exactly 2 years ago. There's been a lot of changes in our church, both in the life of, there have been a lot of changes both in the life of our church. Obviously, some people leaving, but a lot of people coming, and I was just kind of looking around here, and almost every table has a lot of, or some people who are new since we started coming. For example, this table, like most of the people here are new. We have some new people there, like Julia's new and Timothy's new. Even that table, you got a couple. It's just like it's just a testament to how God is faithful to this church. And obviously, we've experienced some personal changes as well, from Timothy and schooling, Janet's work and mother-in-law and things like that. But through it all, I have been a consistent witness to God's love and grace towards our church. So many people serve joyfully and willingly, without grumbling, without seeking recognition. And Janet and I have been beneficiaries of this love and service. And we are constantly being challenged to seek others' interests before our own, because that is what you do. I think most of you know this, but in about a year, our family will be heading back to San Diego. As we look back on these last 2 years and look ahead to this next year, Jen and I are so glad that we decided to stay and that we were here for the entirety of our time in Orange County. I'm so glad that we didn't spend those weeks and months church hopping, missing out on the opportunities to get to know one another and to enjoy our fellowship in Christ. We are going to really miss it here. But we'll be here for another year, and we'll do our best to be a blessing to you all, as I'm sure you will be a blessing to us. And when we go back to San Diego, we will be your biggest cheerleaders in San Diego. Thank you.